Welcome to this week's episode of Future Fridays, where we chat about future tech headlines from the week. I'm your host, Wiz, and you can find me on Twitter at WizLikeWizard. Today we have three lovely guests who I'll each have go around and give a short 280-character intro. And then we also have Yael, who's a cartoonist, who will be live doodling for fun with us. You can find her on Instagram at YaelCecilia. So we'll start with you, Stephen. Just a short 280-character intro.
All right, yeah, I'm Steven. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Ono Food Co. We're building like a mobile automated solution to food service. So we have a mobile restaurant and a robotic kitchen in back of it.
Awesome. Kira?
Hey guys, I'm Kira Noodleman. I'm a principal at B Partners. We are a pre-seed venture firm based in San Francisco, and we have a worldview that machines will win at things like speed and complexity and precision, but it's not at the expense of humans. That boils down to a lot of a frontier tech focus, looking at robotics and synthetic biology lately. And the way we like to interact with our companies is through something we call unexpected partnership. So it's really hands-on and focused.
Nice. And Peter?
Hi, Peter Rojas, a partner at Betaworks Ventures. We are a pre-seed and seed fund based in San Francisco and New York, and we've been investing in sort of future of interactivity and unexpected new kinds of consumer behaviors. And then before that was a 4-time founder, and before that a blogger who started Gizmodo and Engadget.
Two very popular blogs. Great. We're going to kick things off with a game. Before we jump in, all of the headlines that we're going to be going over today come from a newsletter I work on called This Week in Creative Tech. Each week we send about 30 emerging and future tech headlines. If anyone watching today wants to get those, you can sign up at bit.ly/join Future Fridays. So we'll jump in and we'll start with a game. So we've got 3 headlines here. 2 of them are real and 1 of them is fake. I'm going to read all 3 of them out, and then we're going to do a rock, paper, scissors type game where you'll just show 1, 2, or 3, whichever you think is the fake headline. So the first one is, this smart toilet will know you by the shape of your asshole. The second one is, Olympic Committee considers robot athletes for competitions due to COVID cancellation. And the final one is, engineers are working to turn breast pumps into ventilators. So we'll do rock, paper, scissors, shoot, and then just shoot whichever number 1 to 3 you think is the fake headline. Cool? All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right. The fake headline is indeed the Olympic Committee one. I should have said this round is worth 5 points, and there's going to be a prize at the end as well. So that is 5 points each for Stephen and Peter. Kira, the rounds are going to increment in score, so you'll have a chance to...
Can I ask on the context? Do you like the smart toilet? Is that a medical solution or something recreational?
Yeah, so this is supposed to be, the Japanese toilets that have built-in fun things in
bidets.
them.
Yeah.
Bidets and like music and like all kinds of crazy things. This is like a step forward into making it more of a health tech device, and it just recognizes the users by their shape. Similar to like a digital scale. If you step on digital scales today, it'll guess who you are just based on the weight known amongst your family members. I mean,
oh man.
Yeah, it probably assumes there's only a few people sitting on your toilets, and we'll do a good enough job of guessing.
mass market.
Cool. Jump into the first headline today. So, MIT scientists are building devices to hack your dreams. So, what this article is about is MIT has a lab called the Dream Lab, which is working on a glove-like device called Dormio that can track and interact with your dreams. So basically, Dormio detects when you're in the first moments of sleep, which is called hypnagogia, which is the state when you're just slipping into sleep and I guess more susceptible to prompts. And when it detects that you're in that state, it'll give you a pre-recorded audio cue. So in the case of this experiment, they used just the word tiger. And what they found was that in a 50-person experiment, some large percentage of them actually ended up dreaming about tigers subsequently. The bigger idea here is that researchers think that instead of just exploring the role of dreams, they can actually see if they can interfere with them. When I first read this, I was like, okay, this is cool, But what stood out for me was when they reminded me that we spend 1/3 of our lives sleeping. So if you could get more use out of the time or do interesting things in that time, maybe you're reclaiming this whole giant part of your life. Question to you guys, any initial thoughts? Is this another example of humans just trying to over-optimize our lives, or could this unlock a whole new world for us?
My knee-jerk reaction was like, maybe this is a good time to respond to email. Like, just if there's a way to actually do that, that might be efficient. Beyond that, it'd be kind of a fun wellness angle. Like, I don't think dreams actually mean anything, but if they did, it'd be interesting to like meet with your therapist and talk about your dreams, like from like a data perspective. Maybe it's like a new wellness category. Peter and Kira probably know better about that than I do, but kind of knee-jerk thoughts.
Yeah, I think I actually have this experience. Like, sometimes I'll wake up and I think I've solved a problem in my sleep. I'll have some clarity on it. So I think if there was a way, I think of investing, like focusing on problems, and those are where the big opportunities are. So if there was a way to tap into certain types of problems, that would be interesting. I don't know, like honestly, even work-related problems sometimes I'll work through. So I think there's a way to be verticalized there.
I've felt that thought, woken up, we're like, oh my God, I just solved the biggest problem ever. But I never know what the solution was. Have you ever actually latched on to the solution, or is it just that feeling of having solved something big?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's a little bit of what Stephen was saying, where it's like I simulated a conversation about a topic. And it's not that I wanted to be dreaming about it, but I actually had clarity. It's like I experienced it almost. So it's fascinating. It happens to me sometimes.
I think Thomas Edison used to actually do that, like in a lucid state. He'd hold like steel balls when he fell asleep, and then as soon as he thought of his idea, he would he'd drop the balls because he was kind of getting past lucid state, and he'd like write down his idea. So I think this has been kind of happening in an analog form for some time.
Yeah, totally.
There's a terrible 80s movie called Dreamscape. Anybody here see this?
Yeah.
Remember it's like Dennis Quaid, and he has to he can get into other people's dreams, and he has to help the president of the United States who's having nightmares. It's like, they don't make these kinds of movies anymore. Maybe for both good and bad reasons. But, I think, there is a lot of, there are people who can do lucid dreaming where they're able to recognize that they're in a dream. And I think that, getting people to recognize that they're in that state is really hard. And, it sounds like if you can develop tools and better ways to get people to at least recognize that, get them into a lucid, state. I mean, the thing that the thing that I was told is you can't read a clock in a dream.
Yeah.
And also if you try to do anything on your phone in a dream, you can't get anything done. You can't type the right words in or anything. And so that is a signal. If you start to train yourself in your waking state to look at clocks.
I heard hands as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
hands,
also the tiles on your floor. I looked into this when I was in college. Actually, I just tried to do it. But
I was reading about it today. I texted my girlfriend and I was like, we need to learn how to lucid dream.
I mean, it's like Inception, right? Or if you guys have seen the movie Waking Life, where he's just trapped in this dream and has these fascinating conversations.
Yeah.
Are there other industries where we could see benefiting from this technology? I mean, we've seen a lot of new mental health things popping up with all kinds of crazy new therapies that maybe people hadn't thought of before. There's Mind Bloom doing ketamine, which maybe 5 years ago would have seemed crazy. Do you think there's potential for this kind of technology coming into the mental health space, or maybe even education and training, or the Thomas Edison example, creativity and design, right? Will we get all of our creative directors to work in their sleep instead of during the day?
Or maybe getting over fear. I don't know. If you're able to incept spiders, if you had arachnophobia, that might be kind of interesting too.
I honestly think
that'd be I guess, night terror.
Helping people get better sleep, I think, would be enough.
The thing.
We have plenty of problems. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, the things
we're all
on the
tired.
market. Totally. There's a sleep app a friend of mine has called Sleep, and it's optimizing when should you nap, what's the right amount of time to get sleep per evening, right? So I feel like sleep on its own is massive. I agree with that one.
I mean, it's a good point.
I was a sleepwalker as a kid. So I have parasomnia, and my sleep cycles are out of order. And so I stopped sleepwalking in my 20s, but for the most part. But it's like, it's really, I still have like, like very disorienting sleep experiences. And certainly like if there were better tools for managing that, I would use them. I've had to like totally clean up my sleep hygiene to like now I can sleep properly, but it's a real problem. And I think people, before all this, I think everyone was like in this country was just really tired.
Yeah.
And I think that's, not to like reduce the fact that like people are so terrible to each other to like any one cause, but I think that like people are irritable, and I think that most people in this country are not sleeping enough.
Totally.
Like 7 hours
Agreed.
is actually like barely the minimum that you should be getting.
Okay, we will move on to our first cartoon. Cartoonist, you want to share your screen and show us what you got?
Yeah. Hi. 1 second. There it goes.
I feel like this is a good headline for cartoons.
Yeah.
And can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Funny.
Here's one. Idea 2. He forgot to wear pants even in his controlled superhero dream. I censored it right there. That's a censor bar.
Nice.
And lastly, that is what you spoke of, dreaming about dreaming and sleeping.
That's awesome. All right, we'll move on to next headline. So this one is contest seeks AI generated songs. So there's an annual contest in Europe called Eurovision, which is International Song Contest. This is basically an AI version of that. So there's 12 countries that participated, and each of the teams had to come up with a song that was fully designed by AI with the help of musicians, artists, scientists, etc. I actually have a clip of it here queued up that I'm going to play for us. It's quite good. I listened to all 12 of them today. This one is called Princess.
What is this madness? My body is on fire while being tainted by your lies. I'm not a princess.
So, not actually that bad at all, right? So, yeah, the idea is that to generate this music, they're using machine learning models in which they're feeding it all kinds of music that's similar to what they'd like to replicate, and then fine-tuning the model to output something good. So not unlike many machine learning algorithms that we've seen today that consume a ton of data, and then it's like in the fine-tuning that you can hopefully output something good. So question to you all, any first thoughts, or have you seen examples of other contests or hackathons that we've seen help advance technology in other fields?
Well, there's the annual, the Turing contest. I don't know if it's actually called that, but it's a test of the Turing test, right? A contest for the Turing test where people have to create, NLP bots that and compete. They compete against actual humans. It was with people on the other end that sort of can't tell whether they're chatting with a human or a bot. I think that if we're not there already, we're certainly not to like a place. We're not far off from a place where I think AI generated music would be certainly passable. There's certainly like, if you want to do kind of background, ambient stuff, it's actually like not that hard. There's a lot of like just generative music, which is like pretty good. I think when you start to get like, more sophisticated, the more sophisticated the melody, it gets a little trickier. But I don't see any. I don't think we're that many years off from the market being flooded. And we have an investment in a company that's doing AI generated music and pop stars, and they may be a little early, but I don't think it's that far off.
Which company is that?
Oxyman.
It reminds me a little bit of the Go player, the best one in the world, losing to AI, and recently then throwing up his hands and saying AI is taking over the world. This specific person. So I certainly think there's this is the direction of AI. I think for something like a song, it's like, is it a good song in the end of the day? Like, do we need more ambient music? Do we need more
Exactly.
mid-level stuff out there? So I think it's interesting. And then the other part here is, I think of music as a really granted there's electronic music, but the creation of music as being a really human process, and it's a lot about emotion. And so the other half of our thesis that I started with, where machines are winning, but where are humans going to still own their space? And I believe that's ingenuity and instinct and purpose and compassion and flexibility and things that I think music making relies upon.
So on that note, should creative industries be worried about an AI takeover?
I mean, in my opinion, not in a serious way. And to be fair, I'm an enterprise and not a consumer investor, but I know the things that I'm drawn to and that my friends are drawn to are, like, for example, if you're a musician, you want to have concerts, you want to be in person. I wonder where it goes past a production of a song. Is it a one-off, or is this something that's really building community or something tangible and lasting?
Stephen, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was like the type of music, right? Like my girlfriend listens to a terrible Spotify running playlist, which is literally just like decent sounding beats, but no lyrics that really make sense. And so, like, I think this is great for that. I think lyrically, it's going to be hard to reproduce like what humans are so great at, right? Which is like expressing their emotion or their feelings in a lyrical sense. I think it could be a really cool tool, right? And maybe this is like a new course at Juilliard, right? And maybe this is like a AI music course where students can learn kind of how to use AI to help them create. But I don't think it's going to be the end all be all. Just be another tool in the toolkit, maybe.
Got it. All right. We will move on to the next game. So this one is multiple choice, and this one is for 10 points. Sakira, here's your chance to get back into the lead. So we've got a headline here with a blank. The headline is, researchers behind an AI app believe that they can detect coronavirus in your voice, food cravings, or hair. So write down your answers, and when everyone is ready, just give thumbs up when you're ready, and when everyone's ready, just share your answer with the screen.
Wait, we have to write it out, and that this is the one?
Yeah, if you could write it out, that'd be best.
Okay. Font. The font. Should we just put them up?
Just thumbs up when you're ready, so that everyone's ready.
I'm just guessing randomly. So.
Steven, you ready?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So just display your answers to the screen.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, the backgrounds are...
Oh my God.
My answer is trees. Is trees not the right answer?
No.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, I haven't seen this happen yet. That's hilarious. Kira, what's yours? C? Oh, so everybody got A, B, or C across. So Stephen, the correct answer is voice. So this is actually similar to the last headline. Basically, how can we use machine learning algorithms to take giant data sets and find other similar patterns? So this is scientists from Cambridge University have been asking people with COVID to submit audio samples of them coughing, breathing, talking, all of that. And the idea is that there's enough infected people across the world today that they can build a large enough data set to then hopefully be able to use just voice analysis to diagnose coronavirus, which of course has a ton of implications with the shortage of testing and things that we have today. The method is unproven today, but it's an interesting direction. So let me just mark the points down before I forget them. So it's 10, Stephen. Cool. And we will move on to the next headline. So this one is 3D-printed bionic corals mimic a reef's power of photosynthesis. So this is about Cambridge researchers 3D printing coral-inspired structures that are meant to represent a reef base. What's cool about this is that the 3D printed models are actually made out of microorganisms that allow algae to grow and flourish within them, actually better than the ordinary medium of just regular coral or whatever it is. So this technique of printing live matter is already being used and tested for other things like printing tissue or parts of organs. This is the first time that researchers have brought it to things like the coral reefs as a way to try and help with all of the damage that's been done by humans. So question to you guys, either first thoughts or where else can you see bioprinting like this making an impact? I talked about transplants. Stephen, maybe food in your space. I don't know, what other sort of stuff are you guys hearing or thinking about?
One just really top of mind idea here. There's a company I've been looking at that's in the space, they call it photosynthetic biology. And so they're focused on algae production of things like cannabinoids and essential oils and something that could be part of an edible vaccine potentially to combat COVID. And so I believe in the space completely. And I'm thinking of it from as an algae perspective and what it can produce, right? These outputs. So that's platform. But I think 3D printing, I mean, I looked at a bioprinting company this week as well. So I certainly believe this is the future. And, AI and all the data that we have is the way that this type of thing becomes possible.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, you've seen it with heart transplants and stuff as well. And I think that, this is a huge problem, right? I think it's like 50% of like the Great Barrier Reef is dying because of this, right? And it's just really, really sad. And so I think this is, a great solution to like chloral bleaching.
What other emerging technologies are we going to see helping us repair the world from our own destruction?
Automation.
You mentioned food because this to me is in the synbio space, right? So we have a company creating cheese out in a lab, and there's a protein that's in dairy milk that they're producing in the lab, and so they don't need none of the methane from cows then as part of their production, right? So I think when you can optimally design a product, in the end, when it reaches scale, which today it's like $50,000 for 100-gram production, let's say, of some output. But when you get to scale, these are really impactful from a climate change perspective.
Peter, have you seen other areas where emerging tech, frontier tech is helping us undo some of the bad that we've done in the last number of generations?
It's not an area that I follow as an investor, but I think as a person who cares deeply about climate change, I think that the biggest advance, the things that we need to do is we need to make big advances around carbon sequestration, and actually pulling carbon out. Like, it's not even enough to like decarbon. The estimates I've seen have been, even if we were to go completely carbon neutral, or carbon zero as an economy, we actually have to go negative. We actually have to start pulling carbon out of the atmosphere beyond just like not putting any more into it. And, it's tricky. You don't just need to like plant trees. Like, you actually have to like figure out like really novel ways for pulling carbon, out of the atmosphere and then storing it. And so there have been some promising techniques which people have developed around being able to do this in, energy efficient ways. I think there was a team, I think, out of Zurich that did some stuff that's really promising there, which if they can get it to kind of commercial scale and bring down the cost per, metric ton of CO2, it could, be a real game changer. But like the fact that, there should, we should be putting, tens of billions of dollars into solving this problem. And, obviously we have a government that's not really doing anything right now.
One other angle here too is with Synbio, what you can do with agriculture. And so it's an interesting company actually in our portfolio makes plants into living sensors. And so then you can reduce the inputs on fertilizer or reduce the water application and irrigation. So many interesting elements when you also have a new data set.
Yeah, I saw a company called Air Ink that was pulling carbon out of the air, as you talked about, Peter, and using it to make ink, which is pretty interesting. They had a partnership with, I think it was IBM, just to print boxes, like all of in like areas where like high fidelity ink isn't needed, right? Like the ink on a box no one really cares about, but it still needs to be printed. Have you guys seen any interesting areas where, aside from carbon capture, the catcher is actually being used for good output?
When I was in West Africa, they were using plastic bags for like grocery bags for really cute, like over the shoulder bags. So I've seen a bunch of stuff like that, actually.
Nice. Okay, cool. We'll move on to our next cartoon for this headline. Cartoonist, you got something funny for us? Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Number one and another jealous plant.
That's funny. Nice.
Yeah, what tool is this? Is this Procreate?
This is Procreate. Yeah,
Okay, cool.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I love Procreate.
Are those all the cartoons for this section?
Yep, that's it.
Okay,
It's
awesome.
a hard one.
No, that's great. They're both awesome. We'll move on to the final headline. If I can share my screen. All right. So this one is Mastercard turns sick children into robot mascots. So being a mascot is a dream of millions of children. And this campaign was called Impossible Mascots. And it's basically telepresence robots that allowed hospitalized children to join professional athletes on the field during games. It allowed the kids to interact with their idols, obviously, and also they participated in singing the national anthem on the field. We've seen these telepresence robots used elsewhere, like TED, they use them as an example, other conferences as well. Where else are we going to see robots playing this kind of supportive role in society? And just other thoughts on this headline.
Yeah, I mean, like nursing homes is like what first comes to mind, but I think that like this is awesome. It'd be cool to like put like an end effector so they can like play catch or like kick the ball or something. Might be kind of like more fun than just like singing the national anthem. But this is like a beautiful solution to a very like sad problem.
I like the nursing homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the elderly isolation use case is really strong. I think potentially in even retail environments, if you imagined going into the Apple store and your first point of contact being something like this.
Yeah, that could be an interesting one.
It's has anybody read the last couple of William Gibson books? Wiz, I expected you to at least have read. They're so up your alley.
Oh yeah, William Gibson.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know who he is.
I have lots of time to read, thankfully.
But, he wrote Neuromancer. He coined the term cyberspace.
Okay. Yes.
So his last couple of books were about, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but essentially there are these two different timelines, and people from one timeline are able to interact with people from another via peripherals, which are kind of fully like Android bodies that you can sort of inhabit, and like full telepresence. And I'm kind of skeptical about the extremely low latency across timelines, but some sort of quantum computing explanation for it.
5G.
Yeah.
Verizon's gonna got this.
Yeah, Verizon's a quantum network. So solve the problem.
I mean, how cool would it be, and when you mentioned just across time, if one of your loved ones who might have passed had enough content that at key moments of your life you could interact in somehow a real and dynamic way?
Well, did you see that Korean VR experience? Which this might unsettle you. It unsettled me as a parent. So it was a woman who had lost her child, 4 or 5 years old. And so they recreated a virtual avatar being of the child. And then she was able to kind of interact with it in VR. And
how much of the child's like video from its life or like
they took the assets they had, and I don't know whether they did like a synthetic voice or how, but it was like if you look for it, like you'll find the video of it. And I found it kind of heartbreaking because I have 3 kids, and I hope obviously I hope to never experience that, right? But I mean, if I did, I'm not sure that I would want to interact with a virtual version of them, and so I think there were like ethicists who were like, we're not sure like ethically like this was an appropriate thing to do for like a woman who might be experiencing extreme psychological trauma right now. So it was just sort of felt slightly exploitative. So like I kind of understand the sentiment about being able to interact. I actually am thinking about putting a clause in my will like that I can't be like brought
Replicated.
back in any sort of
Yeah.
like simulated form.
Yeah. I mean,
I agree with you, Peter. Like it'd be very creepy.
let me go. Let me go.
Yeah.
yeah, totally. I mean, you're raising an interesting point too. Should robots be anthropomorphic? Is resembling humans always a good thing? I've seen, for example, with an AI assistant, something like this, what we're looking at with the Mascot, where the form factor was completely different. And I don't know if you guys saw, they showed it at the CES conference where there was the Bali and it rolled around kind of like the R2D2 machine.
Yeah.
And so that's one way that you can interact where it's less like a human, or I've seen even a floating orb and it kind of follows you, but it's basically not the interaction with the human. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think form factor is a big deal, and how an AI bot that's a personal assistant will really take off.
Yeah.
Does the VR experience feel less exploitive if it's like an aging family member who died just from old age? Like I feel like, I don't know, if when my dad passes, my mom, she's watching this as well. I feel like I don't know. I've never had someone close to me die, but I know that people look back at photos and videos, and everyone says make sure you get audio of your parents. You want to be able to trigger those memories, blah blah blah. I feel I'd want to jump into a VR experience from time to time, just as a way to remember my parents after they're
an interactive, a simulation of your parents, or just a remembrance. I think there's a difference between
no, not a simulation, just remembrance. A simulation would be weird.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's a difference. If it was a 360 video, and actually I wrote about this where I started, and I actually stopped, so I didn't even follow my own advice, but I started capturing a lot of stuff in 360. And what's interesting about it is that, you end up, there's a richness to those experiences that you lose if you just capture flat video. And so it was all these moments in my life, which I didn't capture in 360 now, which maybe I wish I had. And an example, I took my son a few years ago on a roller coaster. It was his first time on a roller coaster. And so I had my 360 camera and I captured it. And what was interesting was when I went back to watch it later, I could actually go back and just look at him. When I'm on the roller coaster, I was watching, experiencing the ride, but I could go back and look at him this time, just see him, or I could look behind,
yeah.
So I think there's go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I just like that use case as well. I don't have children, but I imagine a world in which I have 360, I can capture kind of everything. It'd be kind of cool just to see our surroundings and kind of the kids' hair and kind of walk around and kind of get a feel for what was going on in the living room. Something like that would be much more interesting to me than simulation.
Totally. Great. We'll move on to the last game.
Okay.
So this one is worth 20 points. Current leaderboard is Steven with 15 points, Peter with 5. And Kira, here's your opportunity to beat them both. So this one is fill in the blank. So I'm going to read out this headline, and 20 points if you got the right answer for this blank in the headline, and 10 points if you just come up with something outrageously funny. So the headline is Meet Michael, a lifelike representation of a future blank in 2040, 30 years from now. So write down your answer, and again, we'll just do thumbs up when everyone's ready. And then, I don't know how we're going to do this time though, because the virtual background screwed it up last time. We'll sort it out.
Hold it right in front of.
Right in front of the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I am too.
Okay. Same.
All right. Show me what you got.
You can read it.
Oh.
All right. Hold on.
Shoot.
Can you see it?
Steven says Fridays fan.
No,
Peter says
future Fridays fan.
Oh, future Fridays fan. Oh, that's nice. And Peter's got
Millennial.
What is it? A millennial.
Millennial.
Nice. And Kira, what do you got? SV tech worker. Okay, I'll give 10 points to all of those because they're funny. Good job, guys. Let me write those points down. The true answer is gamer. Sorry, I'm just writing those down before I forget.
Because our posture is supposed to be so bad?
Yeah, so this was actually a campaign that was meant to raise awareness around gaming disorder, which is a now officially recognized psychological disorder by the World Health Organization.
Wow.
Yeah, some group did some in-depth research into all of the possible physical impacts on the body and health of a human being from spending too much time indoors and online. So things like Too much time seated, away from sunlight, away from exercise, sleep deprivation, dehydration, digital eye strain, PlayStation thumb, etc., etc. They say that their research says that the average gamer today spends about 6 hours a week online playing video games, which isn't so crazy, but severe game addicts can spend as much as 18 hours a day.
Hours a day seems like a lot.
A day,
Wow.
yeah. So this is meant to be a future representation of the harms of gaming.
I mean, like amidst COVID and we're all at home and everything's on the internet, I feel like we're all a little more vulnerable to this gaming disorder than normal.
What causes the deformation at the top of the head? Because I can understand almost everything else.
I don't actually know what that is.
Headphones?
Oh, yeah.
Like over-the-ear headphones?
Gaming
Okay,
headset?
yeah. I guess the pressure over time. Yeah, okay.
He's got the really good headset.
Yeah.
Close.
A premium headset.
Yeah.
Cool. So with 25 points, Stephen is the winner. I'll email you after the show with the prize. It's really awesome. Awesome. So for everyone watching, again, these are our lovely guests and where you can find them on Twitter, as well as our illustrator. And one last time, all the headlines from this week came from This Week in Creative Technology, bit.ly/join Future Fridays. Guys, thanks so much for joining today. It was super fun. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great week.
Thanks for
Thanks,
having us.
Nice meeting you guys.